This conference will now be recorded.
All right. This is the week 2 live session for Color Theory. In attendance is Nick and Telia and Professor Matt Penna. So you all had fun doing your hero portrait, I'm sure. Now the fun really begins. We're going to do this brand identity assignment. So here we go. You're going to get a creative brief, and you're going to create a brand for a company, a make-believe company. If you haven't done so already, you can go to the Google Doc link in the assignment, the first assignment, and get your creative brief. The way it works, you go and sign up for the one you want and download that particular brief. In fact, I'm going to jump out of the lecture, go to the assignment and show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here we go, brand identity and package design. This first part, 4.0, logo icon sketches. You go here and you have a link right here where it says here. And you click on that. It opens in a new window and you have this fantastic spreadsheet. And this is more or less for the people who are not in attendance at the moment. Because we see Nick has already signed up for Brainiac Coffee. But you put your name here and you click on the link here and you will get a creative brief for that particular product. You can you can download them first and take a look to make sure you want it. But if you snooze, you lose, because other people are signing up. As you can see, several people have signed up already. There should be enough for everybody, of course. And these are completely made up creative briefs that for make-believe products. And some of them have sort of fantastical properties like Brainiac Coffee that makes you smarter somehow. So tonight we're going to talk about logos a little bit. And I'm sure you've all done logos, and this is just my take on it. I've done quite a few, and this is how I think is the best way to work on this for this project. So first of all, why do we have logos? In today's icon-driven world, it's imperative that your business has a logo because you need to be seen, right? You need to be noticed, and a logo is hopefully going to do that for you. When you see the logo, you don't have to read it. You just get the visual and you understand what company that is. Some big companies like McDonald's, Mobil, these companies spend a lot of money making sure their logo is everywhere. Nike did such a good job, they don't have to put the type anymore. They just put the icon, the swish, right? If you think about it, these icons come from the olden days before people could read really, and people looked for icons as a way of, if I need my shoe fixed, I go for the sign of the cobbler. So it's a efficient way to communicate information to get people going the right direction that you want. This old painting by Copley shows the Battle of Jersey, and which is a bad moment for Major Pearson, apparently. This is off the coast of France. The uniforms, the color brings everybody together. The flag is essentially a logo. So this is sort of branding armies back in this day. They used color and iconography to join people together, and this has been going on for millennia. Here is a painting by David, but it's a battle. You see the logo here of Rome. Ancient Rome had a logo. Anybody know what that's a picture of?
Looks like maybe a wolf.
Yes, correct, Nick. 50 points for Hufflepuff. Yeah, it's a wolf, and it's actually feeding two human children, Romulus and Remus, who are the founders of Rome. pretty amazing, right? Yeah, so logos, the Romans knew how to use that well. It brings people together for purposes either good or evil, and in some cases just for commerce. This, what you're looking at here, is the cover of a book by an architect named Robert Venturi. And Venturi was part of a group of architects in New York who sort of rebelled against the Bauhaus in the 1970s and 80s. And this is his book called Learning from Las Vegas, and it shows you his thing. People were saying, what would you learn from Las Vegas? The architecture's terrible there. But he said, no, in today's modern world, no one cares about the building, right? We're looking for the logo. You're driving down the road, you're hungry, you want a Big Mac. You don't look for the brick building, you look for the sign. Logos are the most important part in the modern world where you're driving around everywhere. On the internet, same thing. You're zooming around everywhere. You need logos to draw you in. And that's what we're going to be creating for our imaginary brand. So I'm going to go over this first assignment, the 4.0 logo icon sketches. Now, there are two assignments this week, 4.0 and 5.0. First do this one, then do the next. You'll see why. The logo icon sketches are based on a sort of logo setup, very similar to what Full Sail University is doing. Now, I didn't create this logo, but the structure of it is very functional and well done, and it follows a pattern that a lot of logos have in the modern world. It's made up of basically two parts. There's an icon, and then there's a logo type. The 4.0 assignment is strictly the icon. You're not doing a logo type yet. You're going to do that in the next part, the 5.0 assignment. So just while we're looking at Full Sail here, anybody know why Full Sail's logo icon is what it is? Nobody? Nobody went on a BTS tour or behind the scenes tour at Full Sail? Any guesses?
Looks like a plane.
It is a plane. Why do they have a plane?
To reach your goals and dreams.
Yes, perfect. Somehow you got it in spite of it being incredibly counterintuitive. Yeah, so I'll tell you the backstory that I got from asking some of the older folks about how it evolved. Originally, the logo for Full Sail was a ship. It was like Captain Hook's flying ship going through the sky. And what I heard is they got into trouble. Disney said you can't use that. So they suddenly said, uh-oh, we got to get rid of the ship. What do we do? And one of the owners said, how about an airplane? And this airplane is representing a DC-3, I think, which is the first passenger plane. It was very high tech at the time that it came out. And so it sort of represented more advances in technology in that. And so it had a little bit of that cachet, a little bit of fun. But if you were to sit down and do a logo for the school today, you probably wouldn't call it Full Sail and you wouldn't use a plane, right? So this logo, what it has going for it, in spite of all that quirkiness, is it's memorable. It's weird enough to be memorable. I don't know if any of you remember the first time you heard the name Full Sail and thought, what's that? It doesn't really bring to mind the kind of school that it is. But somehow it works. And if you keep your brand consistent, you can make it work. And I think they've done that pretty well. We've done that. All right. Together, the logo type and the icon form what we call a logo lockup. That's your goal. By Sunday, you're going to be at that point. If you look at lots of logos, you'll see some logos don't follow that formula. Some are just type. I don't want you to do this. I want you to do like the Full Sail setup. And the reason for that is These logos, for instance, what do you think these two companies have in common besides red?
Cursive?
Cursive. That's a good answer. Why do you think they have cursive? Why are they both just look like cursive writing?
To kind of get a classic feel.
I think that's what it's coming through as now, but these companies both started in the 19th century. And in the 19th century, this is kind of how people wrote. So essentially, you could just sort of write your logo, and that was it. It was done. Obviously, they've gotten cleaned up and stylized over hundreds of years, 150 years or so. But they're not really that great functionally in the modern world. So for instance, if you're going to do an app, what would you do for Coca-Cola? You'd have to have like this whole box, and everyone knows it because it's so familiar. But if you didn't know the company, you wouldn't be able to read that type in small size. Kellogg's, they pulled off the K by itself as sort of an icon sometimes, but it's a little bit awkward, kind of difficult. Like if you have a phone app, you want to have like a nice little square or circle for your icon. Even Facebook, this is like as basic as it gets, the letter F in a square. And then they have logo type to the side. These are actually cupcakes. But you can see how this square, circle, proportional thing works well when when you create your Instagram account, when you create your Facebook account, all these things require a square or circle. So a square or circle icon really works well. And a good simple icon like this taxi, you just see it looks like a little car. There's a bump on the roof. Okay, it's a taxi. So simple, clear communication works the best. A few years ago, the YMCA did a rebranding, and they went around asking people about the YMCA, and people said, they came back and said, no one calls it the YMCA. They say the Y. So why not make the logo the Y? This icon is very clean and simple, and it has in it a sort of fast forward button, an arrow moving forward, starting the treadmill maybe. It's a little bit of energy, kind of interesting take on the letter as an icon. Can you think of an icon-driven logo?
I would say FedEx.
FedEx, yeah, that's a good one. Now, FedEx is actually a word-driven logo. It does have that cool kind of arrow in the inside of it, and it works pretty well, but it's not strictly like an icon-driven logo. Do you see what I'm saying?
Apple.
Apple, that's a good one. We're all familiar with Apple. Let's talk about Apple a little bit. Why does the Apple computer company have an apple as their logo? Any thoughts about that?
It's memorable. It's the name without
Yes.
without the letters.
Yeah, it is memorable. They actually spend a lot of money making sure you see it a lot, so that kind of helps. But why an apple? Why not something else?
It's simple and straight to the point. When you look at it, you know it's an apple.
Yes, but again, why would a computer company want to associate with an apple? What's the connection? All right, let me tell you a little bit about Apple, the company. So when Steve Jobs first started Apple, IBM was the major manufacturer of personal computers, and they were big boxes, and they came with a huge phone book size instruction manual, and you got a blinking cursor on the screen, and you had to type in the right code to load the operating system, and if you typed anything wrong, it would just beep at you and keep blinking. It was really intimidating, and most people found it a turnoff, so they didn't like it. People who did use personal computers were scientists, mathematicians, people like that. hobbyists, people who were like really into it. But most people were not into personal computing. It wasn't some part of their lives. And Steve Jobs had this vision that personal computing could really change the world. And his dream was to make it more accessible to everybody. The first Macintosh computer, when you turned it on, it said, hello on the screen. Instead of blinking at you, you had a mouse, you could move things around, you could do word processing. Suddenly, he made it much more useful and everyone started getting into it. And indeed, he was correct. It did change the world. So the key things for him were friendliness, ease, accessibility, familiarity, perhaps. Do you see how all those traits are actually traits of an apple as well? Apples are, what do you have to do to eat an apple? Pick it up and eat it, right? You don't have to peel it, you don't have to bake it, you don't have to soak it in lye or something like that. It's easy, and everyone's seen them. They're all over the world. And they also have a little cachet of a symbol of knowledge, perhaps. Isaac Newton had one fall on his head and came up with the laws of motion. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you see now why they have an apple? The key is that the symbol represents the attributes of the brand, not literally the brand. If it was a literal logo, it would just be a picture of a motherboard. So can you think of other logos that take this kind of into account, that represent the attributes of their brand?
I mean, I would say like Lamborghini, Ferrari, you know, usually one uses the bull, who's a pretty strong animal, and the other one uses a horse. So a fast
Yes.
animal.
Yeah, horse is a fast animal. It's also kind of a classic thing too, right?
Yeah, and so then goes like American cars, like the Mustang. Ford uses the Mustang for the cars as the logo.
Yeah, those are good examples. Anything else? Talia, you got anything?
I'm sorry, I'm kind of a quiet person, so I'm just listening. I'm so sorry.
It's a small class. You're allowed to talk. All right, I'll help you out. How about Target? Why do you think Target's logo is a target?
It's the name.
Why is the name Target? So who's their big competitor?
Walmart.
All right. So I can probably safely assume that all of you have been to both Target and Walmart. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. So describe to me the differences in your experience going to Target versus Walmart.
The quality of people that you encounter at Walmart is completely different than at Target. You're gonna encounter all kinds of people at Walmart, where it's more of like a higher tier at Target.
Yeah. Anything else? What about the merchandise?
Somewhat better quality at Target.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, they both have Crest toothpaste and toilet paper and things like that. Well, I'll tell you, I think you guys are sort of edging around it, but this is the story of Target. So Sam Walton, who invented Walmart, figured out how to get things into the store cheaper than anybody else. And as a result, he could have lower prices than everybody else. And everywhere they opened a Walmart, all the other department stores went out of business trying to compete on price. And they kept opening Walmarts all around the country. Eventually, they got to Minneapolis, where Davidson department store was. And the head of Davidson said, you know what? We're not going to compete on price. We're going to make our store nicer to go to. We won't have everything, but we'll have the things you really want, things that are nicer. And our employees and the way we run the store, the way it looks and feels, is going to be a better experience than going to Walmart. Now, would you agree that they accomplished that?
Yeah, absolutely, for the most part.
I think for me, I go to Target, and if they don't have what I need, I go to Walmart because they do. But I would rather get it from Target because it's easier. I get in and out faster. I can find things quicker. The stores are a little more manageable. It's more targeted. It's focused. And that's kind of the simplicity of this Target logo, is really just circles. I think sort of reflects that that thinking. And I love I love this story because it's like, okay, everyone's playing the game and losing, and we decide to change the rules. We're going to play a different game. And it worked. They're still around. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. When you go to Target, everything's very consistent, like I said, and they've got friendly employees. There's the red color everywhere, and this kind of builds a feeling, a sense of consistency, and that's a key element of a brand. Consistency really helps you build trust. If you think about it, just like human beings, like if you had a friend who was inconsistent, right? They're happy one day, sad the next. They really love you, then they're mad at you for no reason. They forget your birthday, they're late for lunch. You're not going to be friends with that person for very long, right? Inconsistency sort of pushes you away. And that's how we feel about brands too. When a brand changes kind of what they're about and what they're offering, their prices change dramatically. And then sometimes, you know, Target opened a garden center as part of their thing, and people didn't like it. Not because it was bad, it was just because it was different. And they sort of phased it out. Yes, simple, intuitive, approachable. Here's a couple of logos. So NBC, why does NBC have a peacock? Do you guys know?
Yeah, because it's the first television to have color. First television channel
Yes,
to have color.
you must be an old person.
No, I just learned that in a previous class.
Oh, really? Okay. So, yeah, they put a peacock on television because they were the first with color. But I think that they've kind of moved beyond that. What do you think it would symbolize today? What do you think they would tell you?
I mean, nowadays, I don't say a peacock's more like flashy.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a show, or, you know, like putting on a show, but it's also diversity, maybe,
Yeah,
variety of offerings, variety of staff and people and all that. I think that
yeah.
kind of fits the bill. And this is well done icon. Simple shapes and negative space defines the peacock body. So really it works very simply in a lot of different formats. And again, icon logo type, in this case, the initials for National Broadcasting Company. All right, AT&T, what's this a picture of?
The world.
The world.
The world, yeah, it looks like information zooming around the world at the speed of light, which is what they're all about. AT&T stands for American Telephone and Telegraph, which is Alexander Graham Bell's original company.
It's connecting the
Ah.
world.
Yes, at one point AT&T had a fleet of ships that was just putting cables in the ocean across continents. And that's I think a lot of those cables are still functioning. But then in 1984, I think it was, they broke them up and said you can't have monopoly on phones anymore. And the rest is history. All right. So visual metaphors. Now, this is sort of a smattering of logos, but I want to point out some techniques essentially they're using. So this first one, imaginary friend. The little girl's going up, but there's nobody there. So it's what I would call paradox. Something impossible is happening. It's a silly little thing. It's kind of fun, right? But it gets you thinking. It sort of captures your attention. Make sense? I'm glad you made it, Mel.
Thank you.
Better late than never.
Yes.
All right, paint the city. What do you see in this icon?
A hat. Well, actually, it's
A
more of
city.
a paint can with a city in it.
Yes. Yes, two images in one. This is another technique that you can use. Now, in this case, one of the images is just the negative space of the other. It's very cleverly done. This one, Farm to Fork, it has these little animals on a fork. So it's kind of like taking something familiar and giving it a twist. Same thing here with maritime law.
It's a fork made out of a cow.
Made out of the cow, right? This one, maritime law, it's like the scales of justice, but they're boats. So you can take an ordinary object and make it different, extraordinary. Barcode, again, a simple object, but it's got two things in one. This embassy landline, so you see the telephone in the negative space?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So negative space is like your best friend here. If a company's called Roostar, you got to make a rooster with a star. Earth, it's the earth with air, so it's two things, kind of an odd take on something. Gym guide, GG, but it's also a barbell. And this one, playground, I don't like. I don't like when you change the logo type and add an image, because it ruins the legibility and the icon is not particularly functional. But this works better if it's an icon with logo type.
Yeah, and the continuity, however you say that word.
Continuity.
Continuity, thank you, is ruined by that. It doesn't just flow.
Right. I say leave the word, and Leah, more on that later. But icon logo type, that's kind of where we're working. All right, what do these companies do? For this first one, what's that?
That is a corkscrew.
Yes, but it also looks like a bottle of wine, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like two things in one. How about this? What do you see there?
I see either a film reel or possibly a plug.
Yeah.
How
about here, this one?
That's a plug.
And what else? Do you see anything else there?
I see an E. So it looks like a Bluetooth dongle.
How about this? What do you see here?
Pen nib.
Anything else?
A spoon, possibly?
Yeah. So a pen nib and a spoon, what do you think they do?
Make menus? I don't know.
That's a good guess. All right, you're guessing. All right, this one is a button and the letter F. This one is World Wildlife Fund. Minnesota Property Maintenance. See how the building is in the negative space?
Oh, cool.
And this one's the Mill, which is a sound studio in an old factory. But horror film, see the face? And it's a film reel.
Screen.
This is an ED, because it's an electrical company with an ED.
Okay.
Guild of Food Writers. The Fashion Center, so it's an F with a button. World Wildlife Fund. So if you can create two images in one, that's a great accomplishment for a logo icon. All right, this is one I really like. What comes to mind when you see this one?
Half
Glass is half full.
Yeah.
Yeah, glass half full, right? So if you can create something that the viewer just looks at it and fills in the blanks, that's memorable. That's a cool thing to do. Something you should aspire to do. Yeah, the optimist says the glass is half full, the pessimist says it's half empty, and the engineer says, why was the glass not designed to the correct specs? It's a designer joke too, all right? All right, so now I'm gonna talk about Louise Philippe. Now she's a designer in New York, and I really love her work. She does logos and she does restaurants and food products, but her work all has a sort of quality of romance and sort of sparks your imagination. So, these are contemporary logos, but they look like they're from a time gone by, an era maybe from the 20s or 30s, before World War II. Here's one, it's a stamp, but it's really a restaurant logo. This is a line of food products, Piccoline, and it looks very old-fashioned in a way and sort of romantic, I think. The artisanal. I could just see what this looks like. It's an outdoor cafe in Lower Manhattan, 2 Park Avenue, so it's near Washington Square Park, and maybe it's got fantastic cheese and good wine, and you see the sheep sort of lolling in the field by the farm, and it does this thing that you really want to try to do, which is spark your imagination. Mel has a cat.
Sorry.
That's a first. We had all kinds of background noises, smoke alarms and kids and dogs, but that's a first. The cat purr. I love it. At least it's not disruptive. Right?
Yes.
Marseille, which is a restaurant in New York, in Manhattan. And I just, I had the privilege of going to Marseille once, but I can just sort of picture white tablecloths, wine, maybe some music, kind of a festive place, a little bit casual, but good dining, good food, good seafood maybe. It sparks your imagination. All right, so now I'm going to play a video, which is a interview with Luis Fili, and hopefully it'll work properly. If for some reason the sound's not working or something's wrong, please send me a chat message. I'll be watching and I'll try to fix it, but let's go.
Luis Fili, New York City. I have a very narrow focus for my studio. It's the only three things I'm interested in: food, type, and all things Italian. New York is a city of specialists, and this is a place where you can have a studio totally devoted to book jacket design or food like I do. And I really don't think that would be possible anywhere else in the US. I've always had a small studio. I have two people working for me at any given time, a senior designer and a junior designer. And when a new client comes in, I'll meet with them. I'll come up with a creative direction for the project. I'll do a long series of sketches, and then I'll sit down with one of my designers and review it, and then work with them closely until we have the final product. Working in Lubalin was an incredible experience. It was a place where there was such devotion to typography. It was something I had never been exposed to before. My office was in very close proximity to Herb, so I could really witness his thought process firsthand, which was a great opportunity. For me, it was mesmerizing to watch Herb sketch out an idea. It was all in the sketch, and just watching him use either hand to work on his tracing pad to make an idea come alive. For me, that was and still is the most exciting part of design, is the sketch stage, because that's really the soul of the design. When I started my business, which was 25 years ago, it was a liability for a woman to start a business, especially to name it after herself. And in those days, believe it or not, we didn't have Google, and the only way to find somebody was in the telephone book, so I really had no choice. But I knew that there would be certain types of people who would take umbrage at the idea of a woman owning a studio, and that's particularly why I decided to name the studio what I did, because I really wanted to send a clear message, and that was, if you don't feel comfortable working with me, then I don't want you as a client. What I've tried to instill in all my staff, particularly the women, is that they can have their own business and they can succeed. And there was no one telling me that when I was that age. So I think it's very important to be a role model.
All right, so that's Luis Fili. What do you guys think of Luis Fili?
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think her work is really beautiful. One of the things that she's accomplished in her career, which we all kind of aspire to, is she found what she really likes to do and is really good at, and she gets paid for that. This is a lifelong career journey. You are going to do lots of different things for other people, doing what they want you to do, and eventually you're going to figure out what you really like and what you're good at, and hopefully you can make a living just doing that. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, more on logos. So keep it simple. These are from Pentagram. You can see they show their logos all in black and white, not even color. So no color to start with. You're just doing a logo icon sketch. You don't have to add type. You don't have to spell out the name of the company. you just want to really create icons and create lots of options. You're going to draw them on paper and pencil and then scan them in. So 10 logo icon sketches, what I'm looking for. Now, when I say icon sketches, you don't have to be Leonardo da Vinci. This doesn't have to be full of shading and careful drawing and all that. You just want to get the idea across. So this is an example from a student. This is Heather's, and it's for Mount Sapo soap, which is a kind of Greek soap. So she has these sort of Greek things like this Greek wreath with an MS, a winged horse, wings with an MS. She's using initials, which isn't really my favorite, but it works. You know, look, icon, a vase with a olive branch, MS on a pedestal, another winged horse. Okay, so these two are really the same idea. It's just sort of different takes on it. I want to see 10 unique ideas. I take points off if you have a lot of redundancy where you have the same thing over and over again. The rest of these are pretty unique. This is just sort of a visual exploration. So 10 unique ideas and you're golden. In order to help you figure out how to do this, I put this visual metaphor matrix exercise up on FSO. If you care to do it, I'm not going to go through it in detail at the moment, but it's sort of like creating a matrix where you put words and try to draw a picture of it. And what it does is sort of push your brain in a new direction. So try that if you want. This is not something you have to do and turn in. It's just an exercise. There are other ways to develop ideas. You can do word associations. You can do what I say, just visually draw. Instead of words, you're drawing pictures of things and then try to combine them, like the scales of justice and the boats, right? How did they come up with that? They probably put a picture of boats, put a pictures of scales, and somebody said, mash them together. What do you get? So it's a bit of creative thinking that you're going to have to do, and this, believe me, is the tough part. It always is. Typically, what you do is you come up with a few ideas right off the bat, and then you got nothing. So what you're going to do is go back into your other elements of your presentation and add inspiration, add target audience, all that. Add these things to it, and you will get more ideas. You sort of refuel your brain at a certain point. Okay, so logo icons are first, then you're going to take the 3 best icons and do this 5.0 logo process assignment. So first the icon, that's the 4.0, then the logo type, that's the 5.0. Putting it all together. When you finally get one you like, you're going to use that as your logo for the rest of the month. So a little bit about logo type, right? Design is thinking made visible. Who said that? You guys know? How about Saul Bass?
Oh my God, yes.
Saul Bass was a great designer of the 20th century, and he revolutionized many parts of graphic design, including movie posters. This is from 1961. At that time, most movie posters were sort of airbrushy affairs, very realistic. He brought in elements of modern art, abstraction, printmaking, and created a whole different look that was very profound and kind of resonated. This is from 1959, Alfred Hitchcock, and it actually is an amazing piece of work. It's this perspective. It actually fades into the office building, but very different kind of thinking for the time. He also did a lot of logos and some of the great companies of the 20th century. So Bell Telephone, this is AT&T, Pan Am, Continental, Girl Scouts, Lowry Spices, United Airlines, ADP, United Way, Warner Brothers. This is Rockwell Engineering. And so he knows a thing or two about logos. So I'm not going to go through this video here, but I put a video up that is actually kind of fascinating. And it's Saul Bass's pitch to Bell Telephone to use this logo here. And it seems a little comical because it seems like such an incremental change. But when this was made back in 1968, change was slow and hard to do. So he talks about in the video how logos work, how people see them, and how they function. And it's only about 12 minutes of the video that I put up there, but it's worth watching, sort of getting the concept of this icon logo type setup that we're doing. So I'm not going to run it now. More logos for inspiration. So this is Charles Anderson Design Company, which is out of Minneapolis. Very successful company. And again, they put their logos in black and white. They want to show you the simple icon. This is for Tiger Woods Golf at Nike. You can see the Nike swoosh here. They got some good gigs with Nike. Paramount, the Warner Brothers Frog, and great use of negative space a lot of times, right? They did this stuff for Turner Classic Movies, and they had to be over video, so they had to be very high contrast and clear and easy to read. And you can tell, you can see right away what that's a picture of. The gangster, King Kong, the sophisticate, the queen. So you get it. They did this logo for a company called Custom Ink that does screen printing. So what do you see in this icon that they've got?
The octopus for the ink.
Yes, because octopuses give off ink, so it kind of makes sense, right? So they're ink drops, right? And the octopus. The negative space forms octopus. This is why I say negative space is your best friend. Now, Inky, that's what they call them, has a lot of personality, right? Looks really happy, fun, cheerful. I want to point out some things Inky doesn't have. He doesn't have teeth, lips, eyebrows, ears. He's so simple. Just a few simple shapes communicate so much. Do you see how that works? And then this icon, you could actually draw this yourself. If you use the shape building tools of Illustrator, you could figure it out. It's all kind of very simple. You don't have to be a fantastic renderer. A few years ago, this was the logo for St. Petersburg Clearwater, and they decided to rebrand the destination. So they called in Michael Beirut from Pentagram, and he gave a new take on it. Now, this logo had some issues. It's very thin lines, a lot of complexity, kind of anemic a little bit, weak. It's got a long name, St. Petersburg Clearwater. So anyway, Beirut took a different take on it, and here's the icon he came up with. What do you see in this icon?
Waves.
Yeah, waves, wind maybe. Do you see SPC?
Yes. If you turn it sideways, it's clearer.
Yeah. So that's a little Michael Beirut thing. He puts little Easter eggs like that in his logos. He added type and a ring around it. Now, when you do this in a ring around the icon, the two things are locked in size, and then the type determines the size. So it has to be pretty large for it to work with the type like this. So he created a second version of the logo with the type on the side for when it gets small. And you can see in these identity pieces that it's very large here. It has to be. But on the business card where it's small, he uses the other version. And the icon itself is sort of a placeholder for all kinds of attributes of the destination, nightlife, museums, nature, all this kind of stuff. And they're still using it today. The Fort Worth Museum, what do you see in this icon?
The FWM.
Yeah, it's another Michael Beirut project. This museum is a children's museum, and so it's really supposed to be about fun. He said we weren't allowed to use the F word when we worked on this, meaning fun. But you can see they had a lot of fun with that icon. Like, it's cheerful. It looks like building blocks. It could be funny hats. It works as a great sort of eye-catching focal point for the logo, and the name is very legible underneath. The type doesn't do the heavy lifting, it's the icon that does. This one is from Lure, which is a design firm here in Orlando that's nationally recognized. Jeff Matz, who's the owner of Lure, he was just named a silver medalist with the AIGA nationally. Eye-catching icon, simple type. It's kind of a great formula. Interesting icon. This is a charity that does beaded jewelry. Simple type that relates but has some legibility. Mexican restaurant. This looks like a Mexican tile or something, flower, and then simple type. This is a company called 3B, and there's Dixon Apple Orchard. What do you see in the icon there?
Let's see. I'm seeing apples in there, but I see a bear reaching up to grab the apples.
Yes, the trunk of the tree is actually a bear, which is kind of an unusual thing, right? So it kind of gets your attention. They pulled one of the leaves off and used it as punctuation. The type is simple and easy to read, but it relates. Skarsgård construction. So a big, strong, bold S made out of a nail. The type has to be big and strong and bold too, right? It shouldn't be italic. It kind of has to match, but it's clear and easy to read. And then this one, it is italic and sort of scripty type that goes with this slanted globe / orange, 2 images in one. This is von Glitzka, Glitzka Design. He does amazing illustrations and logos. Gimme Organic, which is a seaweed snack. And he's got this turtle, and again, negative space is sort of defining the parts of the turtle well. And he looks happy. He's got a smile. You get a lot of personality there. Meanwhile, no pupil, no iris, no eyebrows, no teeth, no lips, like just simple stuff, and it works.
Plus, at the same time, he almost looks like a seed.
Yeah, he does look like a seed pod or something.
Yeah.
Here it is on the packaging. He does amazing lettering, hand lettering. Now, I don't recommend this. You haven't had typography yet, and this is a sort of an advanced skill to be able to do custom lettering. It's something that he's really mastered. So this sort of defies my rule about legible type, but it's very recognizable. But I wanted to point out this icon here. So this minor he's got, the way he works on this, he'll do a pencil sketch, a tight pencil sketch, bring it into Illustrator and pen tool like half of it. Once he's got half, he flips it and he's got the whole thing. And then he just bends a few parts to make it asymmetrical. It's a great way to work. He also does shading the same way. He prints stuff, he takes his digital art, prints it out and just draws on that to figure out his shading. It's a great way to work. If you get to watch, he has a lot of videos on Lynda. Any of them are worth watching because they teach you something about logo design, Illustrator, and illustration. And there it is on a shirt. So this is Maple Nut Brown Ale, which sounds disgusting to me, but put it on pancakes, I guess. What do you see here?
A snake wrapped around a bottle.
Yeah, so again, there's no bottle, right? It's just a negative space. And what the heck is this for? Well, it's a wine called the Naked Grape. What comes to mind when you see the snake and the naked grape and all that?
Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, exactly. Garden of Eden. So this is one of those cases where it's kind of filling in the blanks. Now, Garden of Eden might be a good association in that it's a little, having a glass of wine, it's a little hedonistic, sinful maybe, I don't know. Depends on where you come from. So it gets some interesting imagery there. All right, if a company comes to you and they say our company name is Big Ass Fans, you have to draw a donkey, but not from the side, from the back. Again, negative space sort of defines it. He's got this shield that kind of holds the whole thing together nicely. But you see the proportions of the type, the icon. This is just how you want to work, something like this. And what does this company make? Well, they make really big fans. You can see how that works.
You can usually find those fans in a gym. I've seen those a lot.
Yeah, yeah, they're all over the place. They're very industrial, large fans. All right.
I think I'm going to need one of those this summer.
They really do. They're like 15 feet, I want to say, a blade. Very large.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's bigger than I thought. All right, so here's the week in a snapshot. This is old. Eesh. I got the new one up front. Yeah, this is the new one. All right. All right. So here we are, live session. You're going to grab your brand, your creative brief from the Google Doc. Then you start sketching. When you get 10 unique ideas, you're going to post them to the discussion. On Friday, you will provide some feedback to your classmates on their sketches.
We have till Thursday?
You have till Thursday, but don't delay. Coming up with 10 ideas takes a lot. Good. All right. I am going to go on live at noon on Thursday and review everybody's work that has been submitted so far. Here's the thing about the discussion. If you're not finished, say you only have 5 icons. If you want a live critique, get on at noon with me and I'll look at them. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be finished. We can look at your work and give you some feedback, give you some direction, sort of help you get where you need to go sooner, easier, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm teaching on campus Friday, but I may do it as well on Friday. So stand by for that.
Okay.
Then you're going to take your 3 best sketches. You're going to take them into the 5.0 assignment, which is in Illustrator. You bring those sketches into Illustrator, you pen tool them out, and then you add logo type. When you've got that all completed, you put it in the template that's provided with the 5.0 assignment, and you will be done on Sunday. After Sunday, you will pick the best one of the 3, and that will become your logo for the rest of the month. So you have a bit of build up, but then it goes fast. Any questions about the week schedule?
No.
Mel's got it. I'm glad. All right. Let's see. Let's go over to the assignment. All right. So here's 4.0. This gives you an explanation of defining your target audience. So that's one of the pages in your template. You're going to download this brand presentation template here, which has the elements that you need to work with. There's some student examples. The matrix exercise, which is not required for the assignment, it's just to help you get ideas. And then I put a link to Von Glitzka's Linda course on logo design. So let's take a quick look. We've got about 6 minutes. I'm going to take a look at this brand presentation template with you. So I click on that. Yes, I want to save the file. Save it in your color theory folder. Don't save it on your desktop like I'm about to do. Your desktop should be clean. All right, now when I open this up, it unzips, and I have this template. This is an InDesign template document. When you double click it and open it in InDesign, it will open as an untitled document. The first thing you want to do is save it as last name, first name, brand ID. See, untitled. Now, it's warning me that it doesn't have Helvetica, which is silly because of course I have Helvetica. It's just a different Helvetica than what's in the document. I'm not going to worry about it at the moment, but if you do, well, if you do find fonts and I say Helvetica, I can replace it with Helvetica. I'm not going to do that now. All right. but that's how you do that. All right, so when you look at these pages, project name, you're going to put in the name of your company, your first and last name. Table of contents, you don't need to do much with that. Now, you'll see these little notes on the side. It tells you what to do here. You're going to take the creative brief that you downloaded from the Google Doc and paste it onto this page. And you're done with that page. Once you get that in there, you've finished this page. Word list. In your creative brief is a list of words. You're going to create a bit of word art in here using those words. That's not a crucial thing for you to do this week, but it's something you're going to do before the end.
Can we
Sample
do
audience.
that part Photoshop?
You can. I would use Illustrator. That would be my tool of choice because you can move the words around individually and overlap them or do whatever you want. All right, sample audience. Now in the FSO assignment, I explain exactly what to do with this. You're going to create imaginary people that would be in the target audience for your product. Inspiration, this is anything you want it to be in terms of things that you look at that inspire you for this project. They could be references. It could also be things that were designed by others that you think is inspiring. Explaining it there. Competitor logo. So you're going to have one competitor in your description, in your creative brief. You got to find 5 others and put their logos in here. Display fonts and info level fonts. Now these are display fonts are fonts that have a lot of character to them that you're going to find fonts. So if I just highlight this and I go and I say, you know what font I really want is Agincourt because I'm doing a pirate thing. And then instead of saying font name, I would type in, see, I'm going to copy it, Command C, and then paste it in here. Oops, I created a new text frame. Agincourt. And then, so all the different fonts you're going to play with. You're going to have choices of fonts. Then info level fonts, and this is going to be fonts that are more legible that you might use for directions and things like that. And then your icon sketches, and this is what's due this week. Pencil sketches scanned in, clear, easy to read. They're numbered up here on top and bottom, and give us alternates, not redundant, different choices. Now, the rest of this you're going to finish with the 5.0 assignment. So here's the 5.0 assignment: logo process, logo test 2, 3, and this is where you'll end up by Sunday. There are more pages. This is what we're going to continue to work on throughout the month. So next week will be all this stuff, and then you're going to do the package design. All right, so we're just about out of time. I hope that you are able to understand this and do this. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me or Professor Penna whenever you need help. We don't want people struggling. Any questions before I let you guys go?
Nope.
Mel's got it.
Nope.
All right, I'm going to end the recording.